Hey, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening to the Doctor After Dark podcast. Today's episodes are brought to you by Vincera Watches and Hellofresh. I'll tell you a little more about that later, but right now, let's get on with the show. Hi, I'm Dr. Drew, and this is Dr. Drew After Dark. Please be advised that Dr. Drew After Dark may contain sexually oriented content and be unsuitable for young children. Hey everybody, welcome to Dr. After Dark. As always, we appreciate all your support. We appreciate the emails at drdrewafterdark@gmail.com, and of course, the voice messages at 818-253-1693. They've been really spot on lately, and I appreciate it, and I do my best to answer them as best we can. And do support the people that support the show. Don't forget, check out drdrew.com. Got a bunch of stuff over there I'd be interested in you guys looking at, including the Opium series. And what else? Did I get everything, Nadav?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just get right onto it. Let's get on with Joe List. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before the mic's heated up, you're just telling me you live in New York?
I do. I'm in Astoria, Queens, New York. And I'm here just for this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming by.
A lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah. I feel fine.
You should be. You should be fine. So, did you grow up out there?
I didn't. I grew up in Massachusetts. I'm from Whitman, Massachusetts, which is south of Boston, about 40 minutes south of Boston. It's the birthplace of the chocolate chip cookie, which sounds like a thing that you'd be like, I'm going to Google that. But I swear, you can find it.
When was it invented?
I don't have any. Oh, I can see the Google machine going.
It's already going.
Jeez, this is going to suck. I've been telling people this for 20 years, so I'm going to be really bummed. There it is. Look at that. Toll House. 1938, Sue Bridges.
Sue Brides?
Oh, Brides. I said Bridges.
In 1938. That seems like relatively recent. You know what I mean?
It really does.
I thought you were going to tell me it was like, the 17th century or something.
I feel really proud of myself for not throwing a number out there because it would have been like 1684.
Yeah, that's what sounded more sense to me. I like that there was Nestle's sugar chocolate chip that she put in the first one.
Yeah, I feel like they paid to get into that Wikipedia.
It sounds a little bit... it's Chef Ruth Graves Wakefield. So Whitfield is sort of where the Cape takes off, sort of thing? Is that?
No, well, it's funny. In Massachusetts, everyone says shore, the North Shore, the South Shore. But I didn't realize this till like 2 years ago. Whitman is actually like 45 minutes from any beach. Anything south of Boston, we just call the shore, but it's not the shore. It's like a good, I don't know mileage, but I know time. It's like a 35 minute
I lived there
ride.
for a while myself, and I get confused by that geography. You go south, you get into Quincy, right? Yeah. And then you're south of that.
Yeah, so it's like Weymouth, Quincy, Braintree, Weymouth.
Okay, so John Adams' old territory.
Yeah. I'm down there. But like I said, 40 minutes south of Boston, right next to Brockton, the city of champions.
Oh yeah. Did you go to school in Massachusetts too, or?
I didn't go to college. I went to high school there and then jumped right into showbiz.
Into comedy.
Yeah.
Interesting. How did that happen?
I just wanted to do comedy. I always wanted to do comedy, and I hated school and the structure of school, and I felt like I never heard of any comedian being like, he got really good at Boston College or anything. It just seemed like you can just start doing comedy.
Where did you do it at first?
This place called Chops Lounge, which is no longer there. It was a Howard Johnson's hotel right next to Fenway Park. And it was like, to this day, like the truest open mic I'd ever seen. Like it was like homeless people and drug street people would just get in there.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, and there was some real comics. Yeah. There was a few real comics that went on to do stuff, and then there was a few like kind of burnout, hanging on comics, and then there was just legitimately crazy people.
Oh, how fun.
And then I went up and did my first set, and it like went well, I thought. It's one of those things where like you always, in my mind, I've always been good, but if I heard the comedy from then, I'd be like, this is dog shit.
Right. How old are you at that point?
18.
And your family still together? Your parents?
Yeah, parents are still together. They still are in Whitman.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one older sister, yeah.
And what was your family life like growing up?
I thought it was ideal and picturesque, but now I've been in therapy for a couple of years, and he's telling me that I was incorrect about that.
What was the problem?
I think just a lot of anxiety. They're good. I was never hit or beaten or left or whatever. So in your mind, this is like a dangerous thing I've found.
Sure.
Is that you think, well, I must be crazy because I had such a perfect life, but then you kind of get in there and there's little things, subtle things that you're like, oh, I guess that's weird.
Like what?
I don't know, just a lot of, my parents are going to listen to this, so I'm terrified they're going to hear this and be
we
like...
we don't want to hurt them with it.
I don't want to confront my parents.
Were they anxious people?
My mother's extremely anxious. My dad is very, very quiet, kind of a Boston Irish Catholic, very quiet, not a lot Very quiet.
How old is he?
I'm closer to you now than I am
Nice.
my dad.
Let me get this right. Your dad's quiet?
Yeah, he's
Dad's
very quiet.
Dad's
That's
quiet.
what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is he doesn't talk a lot.
A lot of the guys that go down as quiet sometimes have PTSD, like they were in Vietnam or they were in the Second World War.
No, I don't
Nothing
think
like
so.
that?
No,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I think his parents were like that, very similar to that. Learned behavior.
Taciturn.
Yeah. But he's 62. He was born in 57. So
Is there an
an
ethnicity here? Is there a certain culture or anything? Or?
I think my father's Irish descent, Irish Catholic. And my mother's side is Campbell, Scottish.
Scottish and Irish, any Irish virus anywhere?
What's the Irish virus?
Alcoholism.
Oh, yeah. I'm recovering.
Oh, there's that. Okay.
I'm 7 years, so about 6.5 years sober.
I mean,
yeah.
Scottish Irish are pretty good. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
genetics of alcoholism.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a hard drinking family for sure. That was definitely a thing of. That was my idea of
Normal.
fun is when we're
Yeah.
drinking, and everything else is miserable. And then when we're drinking, it's fun.
And having alcoholic parents, are they both alcoholic?
I wouldn't say they're it's not of my
yeah.
responsibility, but they're heavy drinker. I wouldn't.
Well, somebody
categorize them as alcoholic.
has the gene. Somebody gave you the gene,
Right.
And so being around people with that gene can be traumatic for a kid. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, like I said, they never came home drunk and were slurring and throwing me through the bushes or whatever.
Right.
Even though I'm into that.
Wouldn't they fight together?
Not really. My parents never fought, but that's part of it too. I think there was never. I don't think anything ever got resolved or confrontation.
Right.
So a lot of
Covering
repressed
up, drinking it up.
anger or whatever.
And so when did you start drinking?
I started drinking when I was 18, which is pretty late.
Yeah.
I feel like.
What's the matter with you?
Well, I thought I was like, I don't want to be a drinker. I was afraid. I'm so anxious of everything. I was scared to start drinking.
Because you figured you had the gene?
I think I was going to be wild, or it
Yeah.
felt out of control, or it also seemed like I was like, I got to focus on whatever.
And when did you lose control?
I would say pretty quick. I mean, you kind of have that thing of like, oh, wait a minute. Everything's perfect now. I had that kind of drinking.
This
Yes,
is the answer.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, I've never felt so good and so smart and so funny. I feel like I belong now.
Would you perform drinking?
Yeah, at first I wouldn't. At first I kind of tried to have this conviction of like, I don't drink before a show. And that lasted, maybe a year. I don't know. And then I was like, I'll have a couple beers. And then it got to like, oh, I'll drink during the show.
Sure, of course.
And so that became part of it.
And when did did you get hooked on comedy that first open mic?
Yeah, I knew it was all I wanted to be. It's
How?
the only thing I ever wanted to do.
What did you see? What hooked you?
I think when I was a kid, like it always sounds so like trite or contrived. I don't know what either one of those words mean, but it feels like it fits into this. But people are always like, I saw, Richard Pryor and I
Right.
knew, but that is how I felt. Like I watched like a Carlin special when I was like 8. My Uncle Dale showed like an HBO special. And I remember just being like, this is amazing. And then trying to do the bits around. And the idea
Would
of
you
like,
memorize them and repeat them to everybody? And
yeah. Like I remember doing rat shit, fat shit, dirty old twat, like in 3rd grade.
what
Can I say that on the podcast?
Yes, you can. What
great.
was that? What?
That was a George Carlin like poem. It was rat shit, fat shit, dirty old twat, 69 assholes tied in a knot. Hooray, lizard shit, fuck. That was like his poem, which isn't that great looking back.
So what was your 3rd grade teacher's name?
Mrs. Thompson.
And what did she think of it?
I don't think she heard it. I would just do it kind of quietly in my group or whatever. But I remember the idea of like having something to say seemed interesting to me.
Well, you probably got a lot of credit in 3rd, 4th grade with that kind of poem.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, I killed. I mean, I was killing.
The 3rd grade schoolyard.
It might be the best bit I've ever done, to be honest. But no, I remember it being like thinking, and then I was like a young kid during the 80s, late 80s, early 90s kind of boom. It was on A&E, VH1. And I remember watching like VH1 Spotlight before school. And I was just like obsessed with it. It seemed like the coolest.
And the whole while thinking, I got to finish high school so I can go do this.
Yeah, and looking back, I regret it because I was like, as soon as I finish high school, I'll start doing comedy. But looking back, I could have totally been doing comedy in high school. But I always tell people that want to do comedy, just start, because no matter when you start, you always regret not starting earlier.
Oh, is that right? That's interesting.
Yeah, even I started when I was 18. I'm still like, if I started when I was 14, I'd be,
You started
forever.
You started in 3rd grade. Why don't you give yourself that
That's a
credit?
good point. I mean, I was a thief, but
All right.
I ditched that. Not anymore.
I'm not expecting 8-year-olds to come up with new material.
No, but I do remember trying to come up with material when I was like really young and being like, I don't know how this would work. Because my thought was, I'd like to do comedy, but only adults watch comedy. So I don't know how I'm going to come up with material that adults are going to like. Not suspecting that I could just do
The
comedy
twat- the
for
twat
my
thing.
friends. Yeah. So I thought, I'll just take this guy. No one seems to pay attention to George Carlin. I could steal some of his stuff.
Yeah,
and
no one
will-
likes him.
No one will notice.
That's really funny. And so the alcohol gets going. You're 18. When did it lose control?
It's hard to say. Like, I mean, I always knew I was drinking harder than you can sustain. But at that point, when you're 20, 21, 22, it feels like everyone's kind of drinking hard. Everyone's doing shots.
But when you had that, oh my God, this is the answer feeling, did you know, maybe there's something to that I'll have to deal with someday?
No, I don't know. Not right away.
Yeah.
But it was definitely for years. Maybe when I was like 25, but it was probably 5 or 6 years where I was like, this is not how I can't sustain like this. Especially in comedy, because you're always out at bars, yada, yada. And so it was definitely a thing of like, someday I'll have to stop doing this, but not today.
And was there a bottom?
I think there was like a couple, and then I just kind of hung out down there. One is, and I told this story recently, I shit in a girl's shoe and on her floor, and urinated on the floor too.
Intentionally?
No, in like a blackout drunk. And it was like a first...
Like her shoe was the toilet.
Yeah, I believe. I mean, it's hard to tell. But my belief is that the toilet...
Everybody does the picking up the trash can and peeing in that, or the record, the turntable,
Yeah.
the dust cover.
Yeah,
everyone does that.
That's
but
hack.
Shitting in the shoe, I want to hand you full credit.
I appreciate it. I think I've got most of it in there, and then some of it missed because it's a lady shoe, so it's not.
Did you do your mom's house?
I have not. No.
Christina's gonna love this story.
Oh, great.
You're gonna be her favorite person.
All
of
right,
the
I
time.
can't wait. Appreciate it. Put in a good word. I'd like to do.
She likes the brown. And so and so you with a shoe, and then what happened?
So that was like, I definitely remember thinking I had a flight to.
How did she do with all that?
Surprisingly, she was like 23 years old, so she surprisingly took it pretty well. I sent some money and a really long, extremely long, heartfelt apology.
Did you wake up in the morning and there was a pile of shit in the?
Yeah. And I also had fallen through her living room table.
No,
Like,
no dog to blame or anything.
No, I thought that might be a dog. But
Could you go out and find a dog, like let it in?
No, well,
damn it.
no dog would behave that way. That was the problem. So I remember I had a flight to Seattle, Washington, and I was going there for a month.
Oh.
And then my flight was in like 40 minutes.
Oh.
So I missed the flight, and I remember I missed the flight. I shit in the house, and I remember thinking like I should kill myself. And then I ended up drinking that night because I was like, well, I'm not gonna just quit forever, so I'm gonna drink again at some point. So I kept drinking that night, but that was definitely a low.
Some people, when they get into those moments, the alcohol saves them.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it did for me.
I remember
We'll have some beers.
Craig Ferguson told me he had a whole plan to jump off the Tower Bridge, and he was he'd done something like that where he'd peed all over the place and the usual alcoholic maneuver, and he was on his way he was going to do a very dramatic suicide. And as he was coming downstairs with shit all over him and stuff, the bartender was closed up and said, "Come on, Craig, let's have one more drink. Come on." One more drink, got wasted, forgot about the suicide.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
See?
So,
yeah, I never like got to like the practical, how am I going to commit suicide? It was just that feeling of like, I probably should die. And then like a couple of years later, I got herpes, which was a bummer. That was like a low point too. I thought I tried to get sober after that.
Drinking also?
Yeah, I was drinking, and then like I was just like, I was dealing with that, and there's a lot of shame in that. And I tried to quit then, and then I went like a few days then, but then I would smoke weed, and I'd be like, well, I'm just out of my mind, so I might as well just drink if I'm going to be high.
Right. Then that's kind of true, right? I mean, you're not sober.
Yeah, there are people that will be like, yeah, I'm sober, and then they're smoking weed all day. I'm like, well, that's not sober.
That's not sober.
Yeah.
That's smoking weed all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there was a few of those, and it was just a long time being like, at some point I have to do this. And then also my career was kind of nowhere. I couldn't seem to make a living and no money, all those things.
And then when you got sober, did things start to move?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, almost everything, all the successes I've had have come in sobriety.
It's weird, isn't it?
essentially.
How much things go.
Yeah. You definitely have more time and
Focus.
energy. Focus for
but
sure.
even sometimes it's uncanny sometimes how people just blossom all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, you kind of have like it was like starting a new life, not to be too dramatic, but it was like a sequel to life. And because I didn't start drinking till I was 18, I had already had great fun and had success as a, relative success as a teenage. By success, I mean like I had friends and enjoyed my life and did things.
Were you traveling a bunch as a young adult?
Not in my before I started doing comedy, but almost immediately once I started working the road and stuff.
Was that hard at that age? Or was it fun?
I loved it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was exciting. Now it's starting to get hard after 18 years.
Are you in a relationship now, or?
I'm married. Yeah.
Married. Is that the hard part? Do you have kids or anything?
No kids. But my wife is a comedian, so we're on the road together a lot, which is nice. But it's also you kind of want the feeling of home is nice. Yeah. A little bit of routine, a gym, and a kitchen.
And Queens is home now.
Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you end up there?
So I started in Boston. I was doing comedy for like 7 years there, and then I was like, all right, I got to move to New York. That's what you do next. And I knew some comics that lived in Astoria. Yeah. So me and my friend just drove to Astoria.
Do you perform regularly on Manhattan, or?
Yeah, all the time. The Comedy Cellar is the most, and then the Stand, which is closed right now, but reopening soon. Might be reopened by the time this comes out, actually. But anyway.
There's nothing quite like the Comedy Cellar. You're like, people are on top of you.
Yeah, it's a special place for sure. It means so much to me. I love that place.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It's a magical place.
Last time I was there was that I forget his name, the comedic, that the African American guy had a stroke.
Keith Robinson.
Keith Robinson.
Yeah,
he was still great. He was great.
I'm gonna get shit for the 1 second that I couldn't think of who you were talking about.
Really?
Yeah.
I just admired him so much for doing it and then performing so well. It's like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
He's amazing. He's the funniest guy. Yeah. He's great.
All right. So you get several bottoms, you get sober. You've been sober straight through, or do you have a little
This one has been 6.5 years straight. But I tried a couple times before. And I had a few days, 6 days, 12 days.
So that's the thing that people miss. It's rarely I'm sober and I stay sober. That's rare.
Yeah. That's
it's I get sober, I try, then I do the steps, then I get a sponsor, then I'm doing it seriously. And
for sure.
Then people struggle a little bit, and then finally it happens.
Yeah, relapse is definitely a big part of it. Yeah. But I went like 6 days. This is a funny story that I tell often, but I went like 6 days and I was doing it the right way and the whole thing. And I got excited and I was like, my friend was at Coyote Ugly, that, the bar in the East Village where they dance on the thing. And I was like, I'm going to go meet my friends down there. And I was like, I'll have a Coke, please. And they cut the music, and the lady got on the microphone. She goes, we got a faggot in the house. And I went, I'll have a shot and a beer. And then I went back out for, 2 years or something like that. So if you're counting days.
Arrest that woman.
Yeah, if you're counting days, don't go to Coyote Ugly.
Yeah, my God.
But I mean, that's also like, that's on me for being like, I'll just go to the shot bar.
Yeah,
I got a hold of it.
That's still, I mean, man.
I don't condone the language, by the way. I've tried to tell the story. I've tried to change the word, but it doesn't have the
impact.
Yeah. So I got to
strike the ear quite the same way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like Mark Twain. I'm just painting a picture.
Just using the language of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So the herpes got you down. Do we know for sure you have that diagnosis? Because a lot of people think they have it and don't, and then a lot of people have it and don't know it.
I think that's what I have. I mean, it flares up occasionally. I take Valtrex. That helps.
Okay.
Yeah. Although my wife has never gotten it, so
maybe that's what's peculiar, huh?
Yeah. Well,
she may have it and not know it.
Yeah, it just hasn't, bursted out of there.
Right. Which it's a weird illness that way. Do you go take efforts to protect her from it?
No, is the short answer.
Yeah, just the Valtrex.
I'll take we don't have sex if I'm having an outbreak or whatever, and then if I feel anything, I'll take some Valtrex. But I can't afford to just be taking Valtrex all the time. So.
Right. So, which is the other thing. We got to get you some health insurance. Why didn't you sign up for Obamacare? It's no big deal.
Well, I didn't. I'm a piece of shit. I can't. I don't.
You can save yourself a lot of money.
But it's still. I feel like insurance is still like $600 a month.
I think it depends what your income is. It might be that, but you're sort of heading down a path where you're going to spend a bit more than that. It sounds like with your reflux and stuff you were telling me before the show.
Yeah, well, it was going great. I wasn't spending any money. I felt like I'm like, these people are idiots out here. And then now I'm 37. I'm starting to, but I've changed I had a pretty horrific diet.
Yeah, reflux, number one is change the diet.
Yes.
Then they put you on some Pepcid or Prilosec or something.
Prilosec, both things, yeah.
And then, let's see, keep your head elevated when you sleep.
Yeah, I tried to do that. It's taken a lot of time, but I'm starting to go the right direction now. But here's what I did. Here's how I got in trouble. So when you quit drinking, they say kind of 90 days, just do whatever you got to do, just don't drink.
Yeah.
So eat, drink. So I was drinking Cokes and Burger King, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I just never
stopped.
curbed that. Yeah. And I was doing that also before. So it was like 37 straight years of eating exclusively fast food, pasta, marinara.
But really,
hot
it's
sauce.
coffee, it's carbonated drinks, it's spicy stuff. It's that.
Yeah, I drink about 4 Cokes a day and Chipotle about 4 or 5 times a week.
You can't do that.
Extra hot sauce.
No good.
So now I'm out with that.
Yeah.
I'm eating a lot of grilled chicken and baked potatoes.
Good. And
Yeah.
we started eating oatmeal out there.
And oatmeal and greens. And I just met this other doctor I started seeing, Dr. Aviv, who I heard was a celebrity doctor, but you'd never heard of this guy.
He's in the East, though.
Yeah, okay.
So we all hear the ones out here.
All right. Well, he's a big doctor, and his thing is avoiding all of those things and then eating a pound of vegetables and half a pound of fruit a day is like this diet that I've been trying to do, which seems like a healthy diet in general.
And then they have to do an upper endoscopy on you yet.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Now, why'd you bring that up? Because it's scaring the hell out of me. I thought I was doing all right.
You are doing all right. Where have I said that you're not?
Well, having to go to a GI, what could that be? What?
Oh, you have to. Well, okay. You've been working on the reflux, but the question is: is there something causing the reflux? Is there a stricture in the esophagus? Do you have achalasia? Or there's all kinds of peculiar little things you can get. And then there's something.
I should have mentioned my anxiety and panic
I'm
disorder.
going to see if I can bring it on.
All right, great.
And then there's something called Barrett's esophagus that if you have, you want to know you have Barrett's. And then you want to know if there's something going on in the stomach too. Is there gastritis as part of this whole thing? And it just, you just want to document the anatomy and then the pathology and the lining of the gut.
Right.
And,
so I'm doing that. I'm going to go do that. But I feel like if I had an ulcer or Barrett's, maybe not, I have no heartburn or stomach pain whatsoever. I'm taking great big
it all
shits.
presented with your voice?
Yeah. So what's ironic is the thing that started me worrying about it has nothing to do with. I had this this white bump that turns out is like a saliva gland or something that fills occasionally. So I thought that was cancer. So I went there and he's like, "Oh, you have reflux." But it was all very post-nasal drip.
Yeah.
And then
you might have some of that too. Both get on your cords and stuff.
Yeah. So it's super itchy and all like dry and like mostly like a post-nasally drip thing. And then I started having breathing issues. But just recently I got diagnosed by Dr. Aviv with paradoxical vocal cord movement, which is brought on by anxiety, which I have a plethora of, and
Did he
reflux.
put a thing down and look at the paradoxical movement?
Yeah, I've done 3 of those in like
Those are
10
fun.
days.
So it's like a metal, for you guys, it's a metal rod that they stick in the back of your throat.
and through your nose. So it's like having...
Oh, you had the flex one through your nose.
Yeah. I've done 3 of those. So it's kind of like when you have water in your nose, but instead of water, it's a camera.
It's a tube.
Yeah. So, but he showed me the video and he's like, you can see your vocal cords are just closed when they're supposed to be open, which causes more anxiety, which causes more reflux, which causes more... So I think my main issue is anxiety.
I would agree.
So I'm trying to curb that, but it's a stressful business. It's a stressful life.
Yep.
And, climate change and all that horse shit too.
Don't worry about the world. Just worry about your reflux.
All right, I appreciate that.
Okay.
But I'm trying to do better. I'm eating better and I'm trying to relax and
all right.
I hate myself.
You hate yourself?
Well, I just like to throw that out there at the end. That's how I end my sentences.
Just a general...
My paragraphs.
General note. I hate myself.
Yeah, I try to beat everyone to writing, "You suck." I just go, no, I hate myself more than you hate me.
And your wife, is she out on the road a lot away from you, or do you guys go together?
We go together a lot. I mean, I'm gone a lot, and then we're together a lot.
How'd you guys meet?
We met just through comedy. We have no good meeting story. She remembers meeting me. I don't remember meeting her. I was drinking, and it was just kind of like in comedy. I think that's in life, maybe. People just seem to be around.
Yeah.
You're like, that guy was just always around. She's a woman. I said that guy, but my wife's a woman.
She said that about you.
Yeah. She said, I was just a guy that was around and nice. And, same with her. She's very nice.
And did the herpes thing interfere with the courtship?
Yeah. So, this is what happened. So I got herpes. This is when I was still drinking, of course. And there was like a big, we made like a fake award show for comics in New York years ago. And I won an award for shitting in a girl's shoe. And
I wish I could have handed you that award.
It was nice. And so I gave a speech. I thought it would be funny. It was like every comic was there. And I thought this was going to be hilarious. I was like, this has been a weird year. I pretended to be like giving like an Oscar speech. I was like, I want to thank God. I had a tough year. I got herpes. I mean, riddled with herpes. And I thought I'd get like a laugh, but nobody laughed. Everyone just kind of stared at me.
Oh.
And then I came off stage and my wife was like, I think it's great that you talked about that. I think people should be open And I was like, oh, I read you. You got herpes. I thought she had herpes. That's why she was saying that. And it turns out she's just a nice person who was trying to make me feel better. And so I was like, I'll pursue her because she has herpes. And I also thought she was attractive and liked her, and we were friends. But she was nervous about getting into a relationship for a while. I was very persistent. But it turns out she was nervous because A, I had herpes, and B, I had just recently shit in a woman's shoe, which is not a big turn on.
Yeah, a little bit of it's just kind of like, let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, and she was already sober. She's 10 years sober.
Oh,
so
wow.
she was out in front of me on that one. So
that's nice.
But she, realized, I'll give him a shot. He's a nice guy. So
And you were not sober yet?
No, we dated for about a year and a half when I was still drinking.
Did she motivate you to get sober?
She didn't put any pressure or bring it up at all, but she was sober. And I had a lot of friends, because I'm a comic, I had a lot of friends that were sober. So it was easy to see that, like, these people seem to be managing their lives better than I am.
Interesting.
So that was not, and I remember the day before I finally quit, I had like a list of people. I'm like, these are all people that are sober that I could hang out with. And she was, one of them, because she was my girlfriend.
Were you afraid the party was going to be over and you weren't going to be funny and all kind of stuff?
I had a story. I was talking to a friend of mine when it happened. I was like, but what happens when I go to Ireland? And he's like, when are you going to Ireland? And I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, what? He's like, why don't you worry about Ireland when you have a ticket to Ireland? And then since, by the way, I've been to Ireland 4 times.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
And not drank at all. But you start going, what when I turn 30? What about my...
Now, you said the herpes was sort of your bottom, but you keep drinking quite a while after that, and you got a relationship going. So
yeah,
you got over that pretty quick.
Yeah, but I still felt shame every time I had that outbreak or whatever.
And you decided to be open about it. Was that the moment you were open about it?
I was open about it pretty quick after, because I was pretty good at I'm good at accepting things once I have a diagnosis. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised there's still so much stigma around herpes.
I think so too. I mean, it's
a skin rash.
Yeah, exactly. I had sex with my wife was the third, but 2 women before I started dating my wife, when I had herpes, and one of them, we were in bed, we were fooling around, making out, and I was like, I got to tell you, I have herpes. And she was like, oh, gross, that's terrible. You fucking, this whole thing. And I was like, well, you're one step away from having it. Like, you're me not being considerate away from getting it.
Right.
What you're doing is how you get it. So you shouldn't be that judgmental. And the other, so we ended up not having sex, obviously. And then the other one, she was great. I was like, I have herpes, and she said, well, that's not ideal. And then we fucked, so that was nice.
And you proceeded?
Yeah, we proceeded with a condom, of course. And my wife and I had sex with a condom for like 3 years. And then eventually I was like, listen, we're married. I would really prefer
And then she still didn't get it?
Not have sex
seemingly.
Yeah, she doesn't have it. Or if she had, like I said, it might be dormant
so mild or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's a healthy person, so maybe it's...
And it can be very mild in some people, but they don't even,
Yeah, occasionally she'll be like, oh, my vagina's itchy. And I'm like, oh, maybe that's herpes or, whatever. I just wanted to let you know my wife has an itchy vagina occasionally.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
I think that's important for people to know.
Here's a email to this same question, it seems like. Thank you for doing this podcast. I'll get straight to it. I recently learned that I've contracted HSV1 from a one-night stand. I'm absolutely devastated. I really have a hard time dealing. I'm single, 30. Since I found out, I find myself avoiding any connection with a female due to shame. I would greatly appreciate all your advice, both on how to move forward with potential relationships.
That's how old I was. Well, 30. I was 28. But
so, advice, what do you tell them?
I get these messages a lot, and I always respond because I know the feeling, but it sucks. But I think, first of all, the key to everything in life is acceptance. I'm working on that. Obviously, I have a lot of anxiety.
And honesty.
Yeah. So once you have it, you can't not have it. Right. So the sooner you start going, all right, I have this thing. But if you take Valtrex every day, I don't know that you would almost never have a outbreak, because I don't take it. It
reduces transmissibility by like 96%.
Yeah, and I've been having sex with my wife for years. Not that I say go out there and have unprotected sex, but it's been fine. I get it occasionally. With Valtrex is a pretty amazing drug. Like, as soon as I feel anything, I can feel like a itch or like I can tell, and I take it and it's just gone. It happens. And I think 25% of society has it. And once you have it, you can't get it. So you don't have to worry about getting herpes again. That's another nice thing.
There you go. Yeah, that's the part. It's so common, and yet it's so stigmatized.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Love the show. Thank you to YMH. I've introduced the podcast. I've struggled with depression and anxiety for years. I always put my own physical and mental health on the back burner. From listening to these podcasts, where we stress the benefits of therapy, I've decided to go full throttle. I feel overwhelming looking online at all the different types of therapy. Also, I don't necessarily understand the difference between therapists, psychologists, counselors. I'm a 27-year-old female, no neuropathy issues. I don't know why she's saying that. Where should
That's a YMH reference.
Neuropathy?
Yeah, that's the 4 strokes guy. He smokes so much meth. He's like, no, neuropathy.
I see. Okay.
Coming 4 strokes.
Where should I start in trying to find a good fit? Can we try? Keep your anus high and tight. No prolapse. Yeah. We have interesting people. That
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's nice. So one way to approach this, it depends what kind of resource you have, but the first thing sometimes to do is to see a psychiatrist and get a complete evaluation, to get a proper diagnosis, and then get a referral from that psychiatrist for the type of therapist you need. It's probably the best way to do these things, because you're saying I have struggled anxiety and depression, but what kind and what the context is, and what kinds of treatments are likely to work. So somebody with an MD after the name who is a board certified psychiatrist, you get diagnosed, and then you say, now I want to do some psychotherapy. Whom would be good for this kind of problem that I have? I think that's the best way to do it. Hey, we're going to take a little break from the show to hear from our sponsors. And I want to first talk to you about Vincero watches. That's these guys. I am not a watch person, but I got my hands on one of these Vincero watches, and I am telling you something. I'm a convert. Most thing I don't like about watches is they are either too expensive or they don't look good. These guys got both right. They are exceptionally crafted. It is the best value in the industry. They sell direct to the customers, so they're able to provide you the same look and feel of really a luxury watch that are often 10 times the price. I mean, look at this thing. I'm pretty excited about it. The goal is to inspire as many people as possible to elevate your game. They want to be a daily reminder not to settle. They've received over 16,000 5-star reviews, and they have free worldwide shipping, so you'll get it wherever you are. And they take quality very, very seriously. For them, it's about the attention to detail. They don't take shortcuts. The thing is impeccably crafted. I mean, it just works perfectly. And there's a little bit of history and everything. Vini, Vidi, Vici, the Latin phrase meaning I came, I saw, I conquered, is engraved on every case back, along with a genuine piece of historic Italian marble. That's right, they get into it. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. Nothing comes easy. But the marble serves as a little daily reminder to be relentless and never settle for anything less than greatness. And they certainly deliver on all that. So the watches will get you noticed sometimes if that's what you want. And there's nothing generic, nothing minimal. I mean, look at this thing. Can you not see how great this thing looks? You have to check them out. I know you'll love the watches because just as much as I do. Go to Vincero. I want to say Vincero because Vincero is the end of the Puccini piece, Nessun Dorma. They say Vincero. So it's Vincero, Vincero watches, one word, vincerowatches.com/Dr. Drew. Enter the promo code Dr. Drew, and you get 15% off your entire order. These are well-priced watches, and so at 15% less, you're going to be really happy with this because they are so inexpensive, but they don't look inexpensive at all. It's exceptionally crafted. It's fairly priced. So get Vincero watches at vincerowatches.com. Remember, it's plural, Vincer watches, Vincero watches.com/Dr. Drew. And then use that promo code Dr. Drew for 15% off. One more time, Vincero watches, vincerowatches.com/Dr. Drew, promo code Dr. Drew. Get 15% off your entire order. And our next sponsor is Hellofresh. Oh, I love these guys. It's a meal kit delivery service that shops, plans, and delivers step-by-step recipes, pre-measured ingredients so you can just cook and eat and enjoy. I love this service. It's enjoyable. It's easy. It's pre-measured ingredients. You don't spend any time planning and going to the grocery store and figuring out what you need. I can't figure that stuff out. Meal comes together in about 30 minutes max. Less than 2 pots and pans typically are required. You can make family dinners hassle-free, fuss-free. HelloFresh's Picky Eater. They've got a kit, kid-tested. It's approved, and it's delicious. They have 3 plans to choose from: classic, veggie, and family. And you can option to switch between or amongst them. Enjoy fun menus. Get out of that recipe rut and start cooking outside of your comfort zone by discovering new delicious recipes. I really love the pork loin. Obviously, I'm on this protein kick, so they easily accommodate that. And it's delicious. It gets us all together. We can cook together sometimes. And for $80 off your first month, just go to HelloFresh/Dr. Drew 80. That's DRDREW80. And then enter the promo code Dr. Drew 80, DRDREW80, 80. And you will get that $80 off your first month. It's like receiving 8 meals for free, or you get $20 off your first 4 boxes. Again, it is HelloFresh.com/DrDrew80, and then promo code DrDrew80 for $80 off. Go do it now. What are you waiting for? Let's take a voice message.
Good morning, Dr. Julia. The backside of my scrotum has this tingling sensation that only kind of occurs when I'm nervous or uncomfortable, lasts for a split second and then goes away. It's not uncomfortable or painful, it's just tingly. Is that something I should be concerned about?
No.
God, this show is made for me. I got to start listening and calling
ask
in.
you more stuff. What do you got?
Guys.
What do you want?
I think that guy should read. Now, is this book shitty, or I think it's the most mind-blowing book I've ever read? Healing Back Pain. You know that book?
Oh, by Dr.
Santo, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
Sarno.
Sarno. I completely agree with that book.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's a lot of that pins and needles comes from anxiety and suppressed anger and all that shit. And it's really blowing my mind. Yeah. It's everything that my therapist has been saying, but then you hear like a second source, and you're like, all right.
No, it's a great book, and it's not 100% accurate, because there are some people that have tumors in the spine and things like that, other sort of extreme things where you've got to do stuff medically.
Not me, though, right?
But not you.
Thank you.
The majority of people that end up taking opiates should not have taken opiates.
Right.
And in my experience, majority of people that get back operations should not have gotten back operations.
Right.
So that's my experience.
Yeah, they should have taken whatever Paxil or whatever the hell.
Or just taking some long bike rides and get some therapy and
Yes.
All right. How about this tweet that I came upon in my meandering through Twitter? This is from T. Lamb.
What?
I'm convinced, this is a woman, I'm convinced guys poop on their balls when they go to the bathroom. And she tags me and Christina and Tom. Let's get on this case. So why don't males, particularly if they have the full effect of gravity, like, so some of these old men at the gym that have nuts that go down a good 8-10 inches.
Yeah, I got a lengthy ball myself.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
You ever shit on them?
No, I suspect what this lady is thinking is, because I've noticed this myself, my ball bag smells like shit, but it's not because there's shit on it. It's just because it's a sweaty area and it's compressed.
So when she's been in the vicinity, she's noticed that she thinks somebody probably shit on those balls.
I suspect that this guy's not wiping his ass properly or not showering his testicles properly, and then when she goes down there, she's smelling
let's explore a little further. Do you ever hit water?
With my ball bag?
Yeah.
No, but I think when I'm in the toilet, I'm usually cold or something.
You could though, right?
Yeah. It's a long bag.
Right.
And I'm worried because I've heard it lowers as you get older. I'm only 37.
Oh yeah, it's going down.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with this.
All right.
But we need this woman on. She needs to send us a video. Her name is
What do you want the video to be?
We need to know who she is at the Matislava. We just need to know who you are, because this mine needs to be made sure it gets put to good use and doesn't go to bad.
Yeah, Drew, now you sent this to me
Yeah.
and you said, this is my new favorite thing. We have to talk about this on the show.
Yes.
What about this specifically did you like?
I just thought it was just so thoughtful. First of all, that some woman is thinking about me and Tom and Christina and shit and balls.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that was just an extraordinary thing. And I thought, I did think this brain could be used for evil or good. And we need to make sure it gets used for good.
Yeah, I think she's incorrect.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suspect.
I think it's more an issue of hitting water, toilet water.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
That would be more what is possible.
Right.
And it's the rare, what should we say, talented individual that actually gets to do that.
I mean, Drew, just
talented.
a follow-up question. Is this medically possible? Like, is it possible for guys to shit
I'm
on the
sure
back of their
it's
balls?
possible. I mean, look, when Joe was shitting in that shoe, anything could happen.
Yeah, that was...
I mean, this was Armageddon, right? I mean, if he was swinging a little bit at the same time, he definitely would have shit on his
I'm
balls.
sure I was swinging. I doubt I was in like a perfect still position.
Right, you were falling. And
it would have been a false start penalty if I was on the...
Joe is the perfect guest for us to bring this tweet up. You see how that works?
I appreciate that.
I'm a 43-year-old with a history of enjoying the ladies. What the hell? So I've never had a problem connecting with a woman. The problem occurs when commitment comes into the picture. I've been engaged twice and proceeding to sabotage both within a year. My parents were divorced when I was 9. Both of my parents had previous marriages and children. yes, that's where your commitment phobia is coming from. And so what you do is, this is like something, the very common thing, which is you get involved with somebody, you either pursue somebody who's unavailable, or you get involved with somebody who is available and you sabotage.
Ah, interesting.
And you make them leave you before you leave them.
Oh, interesting.
Or you leave them before they can leave you, rather. I have occasionally engaged in counseling, but not for extended period. Yeah, it would take a while you have to really form a tight relationship with a therapist that you care about sufficiently that you can work through the abandonment.
Right.
And then actually leave that person in a healthy way and go on with your life.
Right. I love my therapist.
Do you? What brought you in?
Anxiety, panic attacks, the whole thing.
I had panic attacks. They're horrible.
Yeah, I've had multiple bouts, including recently. I've had them like when I was in my 20s and then a couple of years ago. And
the worst.
No, it stinks.
Do you guys know the peanut gallery what the panic attack is? Ever had a panic attack? Anybody?
I have not. Chris has.
Oh, they're pretty disabling.
Yeah, it's unpleasant.
I was hoping you could answer my gym questions. I started lifting weights a few years ago, but I seem to have plateaued. I feel like I'm not getting stronger. That's a bigger problem, longer question. Check out Mark Bell's stuff. He's got some good ideas on how to get more size. Robin from Colorado. I'm a big fan. 29-year-old male. I've been struggling with something the past several weeks. When I go to bed at night, my brain rebels against me. Stupid choice of words, but I'm sure it fits. I suddenly get hungry or thirsty or need to pee. This is the anxiety thing.
Yes, I have this. This is anxiety.
But instead of being able to take care of it, I just lay there and suffer. Sometimes I don't sleep at all. I have had massive issues with suicide ideation. Molested age 7 to 11. You weren't molested, were you?
Not that I know of, no.
Anything you...
I was not. I was not. But I do feel like I must have something repressed. I'm such a mess, and I keep diving in there. I got nothing.
I have had a lot of progress, cognitive behavioral therapy and EMD, I hope are, but I'm worried this might be a new manifestation of the same issue. Yeah. This is anxiety. And I don't know why it's flaring up right now, but you should go back to your therapist and report all this. Let's go to another voice message.
Hey, sir. My name's Nick. Right now, my girlfriend has a cyst on her fur burger. It's been drained and excised twice at the gynecologist. They say it's unfortunately placed on her skin, and the only home remedy has been lots of wet heat and very hot baths, but it seems reoccurring. And right now it's about the size of a thumb, and it's kind of getting in the way of me eating her fur burger. So if you could maybe give us some advice on how to get rid of this, it'd be very beneficial. We're not using condoms. We use lube often. If that helps, but she has a IUD too, by the way. So
I like the way he has to include things that he thinks are important. I also like the way people are uncomfortable talking about certain body part anatomies, so they will just force something offensive,
right?
Something like incredible. Like you could have just said, you could have left that whole fur burger thing off. It would have been just fine. I
didn't know what he meant until he said, it was like use it in a sentence, until he said eating the fur burger. I was like, I think I know what that means.
Can you spell it?
Now,
can we use it in a sentence, please?
Now, is that the only issue? Is cunnilingus? Are they having intercourse?
It sounded like that because he said they're using a condom.
Okay, because it seems like you could just put that off for a while. Like, are you in that much need to?
Well, this is the point. The medical problems are interfering with his action here. So
right,
we have great callers, and so he's talking about either a carbuncle, which is like it's boil essentially,
okay,
or a Bartholin's gland cyst, which are pretty uncomfortable, and those are really around the vulva. And you need to get it treated, dude. You let the thing, hot compresses and antibiotics sometimes, and they have to lance them and drain them and all this stuff. There's more to be done. Don't screw around with that. One more voice message. How about that?
Hey, Dr. Drew. My name's Scott. I have a theory about the force and the distance of cum shots, because I know we've been talking about that a lot. And my theory is that it's related to your dick hole size. And I've had this theory for a long time. I know it's related to pee because, I've noticed I have kids and nephews, and if they pee in the backyard, my son pees like a normal distance, but my nephew can pee like 4 feet, 5 feet, like he can pee really far. Then I talked to my brother-in-law, and it's because he's got a real small dick hole. So we had a conversation about dick hole size, and I started wondering if it's related to cum shot strength and distance, because, if you try to force a lot of liquid through a small hole, it's going to shoot farther and have more pressure. So, I know this is very scientific, so I was just calling to see, how many papers have been published on this and what your take is on that.
Go ahead, Joe.
Bye.
What you have at that?
Wow. First of all, I've never heard pee hole size mentioned ever
Not so many times.
in my life. I mean, it's never occurred to me.
Yeah.
And also to compare, he has a big or small pee hole.
Yeah.
To look at a child's penis is interesting. I'm using the word interesting. To look at the size, to make note of the size is very bizarre to me.
Yes, it's bizarre. And I'm almost ready to report to Child Protective Services, but I shall not. I know of no anything, any data that suggests that's the issue. In fact, you might argue that a bigger bore, if you're trying to get a lot of fluid out of a hose, I mean, a large volume of fluid,
Sure.
you're going to have a larger bore.
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
Right? Now, the distance, there's something to it on the distance, but that's, again, with a force coming behind a narrowing.
Right.
Right? And the size of the urethra is pretty much the same all the way down. So I would say it has not, if anything, not with small. And it's not something I really think about.
And isn't that prostate related? The urine stream?
That and then the seminal vesicles. People get this all screwed up. Prostate produces the semen fluid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your testes are building the sperm that leak into the semen fluid. They sort of put them together in the seminal vesicles. There's a thing behind your prostate that is sort of a storehouse where things accumulate and then come out. And I imagine if you have large volume of storehouse, you can produce a large volume of semen then.
Right.
That's all. Aren't you glad you made a special trip out
I
there for
appreciate it. Yeah, I love semen.
Do you have other medical questions? I feel like you are have lots of things you want to ask.
I mean, I have so many.
Go ahead.
I have them all the time. But
Go ahead.
So this gland on my mouth, like on the roof of my mouth,
Yes.
there's like a ton of dots, like spots. They're like tiny pimples, I suppose. That's normal.
It's not normal. It's reflux.
That on the roof of my mouth, though. That has to do with
It's some irritation, I think. Yeah.
That's what it feels like. And then every once in a while, randomly, will fill up. I have a bunch of photos of it. It looks like a pimple, and then it will go down. But I assume it's a duct filling with saliva. That's what an ENT told me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's related to the reflux?
I suspect the amount, that is so visible, that more related to irritation up there. Yeah.
All right.
I suspect.
And it's not crazy for the silent reflux to last several months, from what I've read.
I mean, after you start treatment? Or to be, because it can be all the time, silent reflux. Right?
Yeah. I guess it's after I start treatment, but it's been like 3 months. Now I'm starting to feel better with the diet and everything.
Yeah.
But it's taken time.
Yeah. I think the anxiety is making things worse, and the vocal cord spasms they're telling you about is worse. And then it takes a while for this stuff to settle. You may have some people have sort of retropulsion. The esophagus pushes in the wrong direction.
Oh, Jesus.
And that's it's something that some people just have.
Oh, God.
So maybe it's no big deal. I mean, do you ever stuff come in your mouth in the morning or anything?
Not really. A little bit. Like I have like a weird taste or whatever, but it's mostly the post-nasal drip. And then when I'm swallowing, I have that cobblestone throat. They've shown when they do the scope, it's all cobblestoney, and then food gets stuck in there, like especially oatmeal or rice, and I have to kind of go like and get it back up and
that's lovely.
Down. It's a bummer.
Your
it
wife,
affects.
it's so sexy. Your wife must love this.
She hates me. I mean, it's a whole situation over there. But but then I'm obsessive too, so I obsess over it, and that makes more anxiety. And then
anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder overlap a lot.
Yeah, I have both of those.
I do too. Maybe not as bad as you.
It's very frustrating.
But it can be an asset too, right? I mean, it also makes you very conscientious and very thorough and very on top of things. And
that's true. I'm always very early, and I think I'm a thoughtful guy. But and my therapist now tells me, he's like, you should get Xanax for if you're having a panic attack, and maybe get on a Zoloft or something. But I'm so afraid to get back on, because I used to be on Paxil, and then I have this feeling that I'm regressing in life, in my mental health.
Did Paxil bother you with side effects or anything?
No, well, it took a lot to come, going back to the last caller.
I was going to say, that's the main thing with these medicine. It will decrease your libido. It can affect any phase of your sexual response.
Right.
System.
But I just don't want to be a stat that's on these medications. And he was like, well, you just take it for a little while, because you're going through a traumatic phase. And he's like, it doesn't undo everything you've come emotionally with therapy and stuff.
Right.
But it feels like this failure. And then he says you're hypocritical. Blah,
but I
blah,
get that. I get that. And what is the traumatic phase you're going through?
Well, the esophagus thing? It sounds silly, but it's reflux. But I'm quitting every food I ever liked. So I'm completely changing my diet, which is a dramatic change.
Yeah.
And then I get this, now that I'm seeing a doctor, I have a proper diagnosis and I feel like I'm getting a little bit better. I'm settling down. But for a while, I was just losing my mind because when you don't have a proper...
What were the symptoms you were having?
Well, it was
other than the white spots on the roof of your mouth.
the white spots, the reflux, my throat, it was hard to swallow. And then the breathing thing was the main thing that was the scariest. But this is an interesting thing about the American medical system. He was like, you have paradoxical vocal, it's closing. And I go, well, what do I do? And he goes, there's a speech and breathing therapist in this office. She's the best. He's like, 1 session with her, you'll be much better. 2 at the most, it's nothing. You'll be completely... So I go, great, bring her in. He's like, no, you got to make an appointment. So I go to make an appointment, and like, she's not available.
Booked
She's
for
6 weeks
3
out.
months.
So it's like 6 weeks of having this thing. So can you help me with my paradoxical vocal?
You haven't gone yet?
No, it's June 18th I go.
Oh, I don't know what the exercises are, but I know they can't correct all this stuff pretty easily.
Well, I think it's some kind of belly breathing and all this stuff. And I feel like I've been breathing wrong my whole life because I get excited and I talk and I never breathe out of my diaphragm.
This
or
will help
whatever.
you for comedy.
I think it will. I think it'll help everything. So
Do you guys want to have kids?
no, I don't think so. She's older. She's 41 and we're trying to make it in comedy. So, and currently I'm working a little more, making a little more money. So one of us is going to have to sacrifice.
Right.
So it would be her. Like it would be like, all right, you're out of
And she doesn't want to do that.
comedy now. No. It's also it's the anxiety is so much to the financial anxiety. I hang out with kids. I was just hanging out with my nephew and niece all weekend. They get near the water, I freak out. They're on the swing set, I'm losing my mind. It's brutal. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I was that way with my kids. I was bad.
Yeah, and then they grow up to be like me, and then they're a mess, and I feel like an asshole.
Right.
Because I got a bunch of nervous idiots running around afraid of reflux.
And when we were talking about your family of origin, do you think that some of this is just genetic?
The anxiety?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my therapist thinks learned behavior. Does that sound right?
Well, it could be learned behavior, but it could also be genetics, right? I mean, you're all from the same gene pool, and you're sharing this biology.
Yeah, I suppose. Now, my therapist had a theory. It sounds like you disagree that there's only a few things that are actually genetical. What's that word?
Oh, that's so clearly untrue.
He said, what's the thing I'm thinking of? When schizophrenia and not biracial. What's the thing?
Bipolar.
Bipolar. Yeah.
Bipolar is very familiar. Schizophrenia, not so much. But OCD and anxiety for sure.
Really?
For sure. Oh yeah. At least the traits they
But that's not learned.
Well, amplifying it is learned. You know, in other words, the traits are clearly sort of a certain brain.
Interesting.
But if say your mom was digging into it all the time and was really overtaken by anxiety, then you're going to learn that on top of whatever predilection you have genetically.
Yeah, I think she is. We sort of relate through anxiety and panic attacks,
Catastrophizing, catastrophe.
Yeah, that thing, worried about everybody and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's all taking that biology and massaging it and making it big.
Right. I think there's also a lot because my family and even my friends back home, I don't know if this is a regional thing, there's a lot of the communication is kind of gossip and shitting on the person that just left, which I learned is like, everyone hates me. As soon as I leave, everyone's like, what a piece of shit that guy was. So I think that's deeply ingrained.
You assume that's the conversation.
Of course, because that's the conversation we're having.
Right now?
As soon as, Aunt, whoever, Susan leaves, we're like, what a piece of shit she is.
Maybe you should stop that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, but it's fun.
Spiritual program.
Yeah, so...
living a certain kind of life.
Yeah. I mean, I try to do that. But in my family, that's how you kind of relate.
What's your comedy centered on now?
Wait, my what now?
What your comedy? What are you finding?
It's a lot about anxiety and relationship stuff, a lot of sex stuff, and then a lot of just stories right now. After a while, in comedy, you run out of introspective stuff. Like I did all my anxieties, and now I'm just like, this happened the other day. It's crazy. So I feel like I'm regressing, to be honest. I might start doing rat shit, fat shit again, but I might bring that back, dust it off.
But maybe you're getting better.
I hope so.
Yeah, because you're not talking about the anxiety anymore. You're just talking about life.
Maybe that's a good point. I hope I'm going to take that.
No, the reflex under control. Any other medical problems?
What else do I have? I mean, I'm always afraid of something. But I feel like with my diet now, I can finally start to be better. I'm eating vegetables and fruit, which I never did ever.
I mean, do you check you're getting, how old are you again now?
37.
Yeah, you're still too young, but
Just turned 37.
as you get in your 40s and stuff, you start looking at the cholesterol and all this stuff. And
Yeah, I think last I heard my blood pressure's okay, and I feel like my cholesterol's probably dropped because I stopped eating fast food and stuff.
I'm just looking for some other questions here.
Oh, we got some voicemails for you.
Oh, let's do some more
Yeah, we got a
voicemails.
whole bunch.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Dr. Drew. My name is Matt. Recently, I have lost 90 pounds in about 4 months. And some days I wake up looking in the mirror and I see a mirror image of how I was when I began. And I was curious if there is such a thing as phantom fat.
Oh, that's really
The
interesting.
same way that someone has maybe like a phantom limb.
Yeah, no, that's a fascinating
Thank you.
question. Yeah, I like the way he formulated that, but it's not phantom fat, it's body dysmorphia, right? It is you can see yourself, you're thin and you still see fat.
Right.
That's
always,
body dysmorphia.
That's fascinating to me.
Isn't that interesting? The original body dysmorphia was actually on the face, that, and then then people started associating with eating disorders and things. But dental, worrying about tiny little things on our skin and stuff. That's all body dysmorphia.
See, I think I see my teeth and I want to kill myself, but then I think they actually are bad. Like I see photos and I'm like, yeah, they're crooked. Like I bite into a cookie and I see the bite mark and I'm like, yeah, this is not.
You can straighten them if you want.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's very
Okay, well,
expensive. And I heard it's kind of painful, so
Let's screw that
I'll
in.
get to that.
All right. Next voice message.
Hi, Dr. Drew. My name is Zach. I'm a big fan of the show. Love you guys. I had a question. Basically, since I was in the 3rd grade, I started shoving sharp objects underneath my nail beds. It kind of hurts, but kind of feels good. It's almost like I'm scratching an itch under there. And I've been doing it ever since then. I do it with receipts and pillowcases and all kinds of stuff. And it kind of like pushes my nail bed back so that I have this little indent in there. But it feels like some type of OCD. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Could you give me some type of insight?
I think he's really not talking about the nail bed here, right? Is he talking about this?
I think underneath the nail, it
yeah.
sounds like
I do know people that get self-soothing by running things under the nail there. It's very unusual. I've heard of it before. I don't know that it's anything. It has kind of an OCD quality to it, but it's a soothing thing that some developmental window you found when you were a kid and it worked for you and you kept doing it. Obviously he shouldn't be shoving nails under there.
Yeah,
Pins.
I think the Viet Cong did that to POWs.
Right.
So
I believe that was called a torture. But again, I've known people that will take corners of cardboard and stuff and run.
Right.
It's a very kind of
interesting.
not
Yeah,
uncommon.
I have a lot of OCD things, but that's not one of them.
What else you got?
I like to do this with paper. I'll flip. I'll do this
That's
thing.
nice. That's cool.
Yeah, that's very
Look at me,
enjoyable.
I'm picking at my cuticle.
Yeah, I'll do a lot of stuff like that. I also started doing a thing a long time ago where I would say, like when you use knock on wood, like if it's been a great day. For some reason I was driving once and I knocked on my head because it's an old bit, like knock on wood. And then I would be like, oh, wood, like an erection, woody, when you're a kid. So I would do that. And then I would knock on the dashboard so now I still do
all 3.
I tap all 3 in the car quite a bit.
And what are you fearful will happen if you don't?
That whatever I was just talking about will happen.
And you can't get that thought out of your head.
No, I can't do. I have a lot of stuff like that.
Rituals.
Yeah, or I'm still walking and I'll see a crack and I'm like, I got to step right on that crack or that piece of whatever.
It's
spot.
so, I got some of that stuff too, and it's so unpleasant.
Yeah, it
just
stinks.
Yeah.
I'm a head case. It's terrible. And then it all builds into panic attack.
But you can use it for your comedy.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Next one.
Hi, Dr. Drew. Longtime fan. I'm calling because of a penis sensitivity issue. I think I might be addicted to masturbation. I masturbate anytime between 2 and 5 times a day, and I'm noticing the sensitivity of my penis varies. A lot of the time it feels almost numb, and I'm wondering what's causing that. Am I just using it too much?
Yes, you are.
Anytime I have any kind of sexual encounter with my wife, it's perfectly fine, and there's the sensitivity is there and it feels great, but when I masturbate, there's different varying sensations, and there's almost a numb feeling. What could be causing that? Am I just using my penis too much?
Yes.
Thanks, big fan. Hope to hear back about this.
Okay, masturbate less, and it will go away.
Yeah, that seems like an excessive amount of masturbation.
The only other thing that can do that is actually sitting on bike seats for prolonged periods of time.
I've heard that.
There's a pudendal nerve that heads out towards the penis, and you can kind of crush it and cause a little numbness and weird feelings. That's the only thing I know. But with the activity you're maintaining, plenty of reason to have peculiar and shifting sensitivities. Knock it down to, I know it's a radical idea. You're also having sex with your wife, remember?
I know. That's what's weird.
Yeah.
He is getting laid.
Yes.
I just assume he never had sex.
Right. Let's knock it down to once a day. How about that? Let's see what happens.
And can I recommend this? Bring some of your sexual fantasies in with your wife, so you can manifest, but parlay them. I'm not good with words. Get them in there.
Parlay.
Yeah, get them in there. Get parlayed.
And if you cannot knock it down, then you may need to get treatment for sex addiction. Or I'm assuming porn is your biggest problem. That's usually where that is coming from, literally. And you might have to look into that. I know it sounds trivial, just knock it down once a day. And if you cannot, that's a behavioral addiction. That's something you need to deal with. What are the other sort of sexual issues that come out in your comedy?
Well, not issues too much.
I mean, comedic sexuality is a source for comedy.
Well, I have a lot of stories that happen, via sex. Like I'm trying to talk dirty with my wife, but it's hard to get, not to just do a bit in the show, but it's hard to get too dirty when you're married because you have to segue back into the regular life. You know what I mean? Like a one-night stand, you can be like, step on my balls and choke me.
You never see that person again.
Yeah, exactly. But if I do that at home, I got 10 minutes later, I'm like, do you want to do the dishes and I'll vacuum or vice versa?
It's too hard to transition.
Yeah, so that's kind of tricky.
It also makes me think, how does she not step on your balls? Apparently your balls are...
They're very long.
Sometimes
she definitely lays on them sometimes. The other day we were at a hotel where the bed was like flush against the wall and she was stepping over me. And I was terrified. And I was like, I just covered my... She's like, I'm not going to step on your balls. And I was like, first of all, I would love it if you did in different circumstances, but... Also, not on purpose. You could slip, and next thing you know...
By the way, this is the source of your anxiety disorder. Forget all the psychotherapy you're doing.
I'm afraid of my balls.
You're just having to protect them all the time. They're a nuisance.
Well, I do feel that way all the time. I'm always afraid that I'm going to get...
whacked.
Hit. Or
Right. I mean, they're so available.
So there's a lot of that, and... I can't even remember any of my bits. Like the other day, my wife and I were having sex, and she coughed, and it ejected my penis out of her body. Is that a normal thing?
That happens.
That was fascinating to me. It was like a magic trick.
Is she? Let me ask some questions if you don't mind.
Please.
Is she somebody that can orgasm with intercourse?
She needs clitoral stimulation,
like oral stimulation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've never seen her
because some women, when they can have orgasm with intercourse, they have particularly strong vaginal muscles.
Oh no, she's loose as a goose, and no, I'm kidding. But no, she needs clit stimulation.
Yeah, which is common, which is most women need.
That's from what I understand. Yeah, which no one ever told me that.
I know.
That should be in sex ed, is because for years I was having sex and just
leaving them be. Yeah,
and it was like. No one ever was like, hey, and I think women a lot of times are embarrassed to start masturbating.
Right, and then
if they're with...
and not only that, there's a certain percentage of women that have orgasms very easily with intercourse, and the rest of them feel flawed or something.
Right.
Against that, like, why can't I do that? It's like it's different biology.
Right.
Different.
Now, what do you know anything about tinnitus? Because I have that too. Is that anxiety or just sometimes that happens? Because I went to an ENT and they were like, we don't know. It's whatever. Yeah,
tinnitus is one of these things that if it's not neurological and it's not structural, you don't have anything wrong with the ear. It can be anxiety. It can be like, we don't know. But I'm suspicious it could be related to your reflux, given your sinus stuff, given so much of it is way up high in your
Well, it was happening
system.
Way before I had all this, but that could have been going on.
Starting. Is it one side more than the other or both sides?
Nah, it's both sides, but it's not horrific. It's only bad at night or if I'm in the desert or whatever.
Does it trigger panic?
No, it did for a while. I was super
anxious. When you start focusing on it, will it make you panic?
Yeah, and then if I have really bad anxiety. But what's amazing, this is why that Healing Back Pain book is so mind-blowing to me, is that throughout all of my life, I've always had something physical that I'm dealing with. Mm-hmm. I had pins and needles in my arms for a long time. I've had chest pains many different times. For a while, I would break out in hives. I took like a antihistamine like every 3 days for like 6 months. because I'd get all hivey. And then I've had like migraines. I've had tinnitus all the time. All kinds of stuff like that. Back pain. Lots of stuff. It's always manifesting. I'm a real mess.
Was it reduced when you were drinking? At least while drinking.
While drinking, yeah. And then it would start to come. I would just drink right through all that stuff.
I think some part of the genetics of alcoholism is an anxiety thing too, and not just an anxiety thing, but also an intolerance of anxiety.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, like I realize that because I'll talk to other sober people, and sometimes they're all talking about. Everyone there is talking about anxiety.
They have a lot of
and
anxiety.
Stress. So
and for alcohol, you're not this, which is kind of interesting. Most alcoholics, the anxiety leads to depression.
Right.
Like it makes them depressed. Like they always say they have trouble distinguishing between anxiety and depression.
Right.
What you're describing is more OCD anxiety, pure and simple.
Yeah.
And if you're depressed, the anxiety gets worse.
Right. Well, that's what I had like a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I was really in bad shape like a couple of weeks ago because I was dealing with this reflux and I couldn't get an answer, and I thought I was, and so that led me to depression where I was just.
And then your anxiety gets worse.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Everything I was doing was just to get through it.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of taking a corner now. But I always feel like I enjoy life. I'm not depressed. That's what gives me so much anxiety. I'm so afraid it's going to end. I'm going to die.
Good
exactly.
For you. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying life.
So life is very enjoyable.
You are going to be fine.
I hope so.
You're a young, healthy man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Reflux isn't shit. Don't worry about it.
All right. So I just keep not eating those things.
Everything you described was anxiety related.
But it leads to esophageal cancer, is from what I understand.
Oh, I mean, if you were smoking and drinking and had reflux for a couple decades, absolutely.
Right.
But you drank for a short period of time, you're taking care of your reflux. If there's no Barrett's there and everything's cool, don't worry about esophageal cancer.
Great.
All right?
All right, I appreciate that.
Fixed.
Thank you. I feel great.
Yeah. Thank you.
They'll last about 6 hours, and then I'll come up with something to worry about.
Text me again.
All right, I appreciate
Joe, thank you for coming. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Where's coming up? What's coming up?
Oh, geez. I'm on the spot now. Providence Comedy Connection, June 27, 28, 29. And Gotham Comedy Club in New York, July 12th and 13th.
Oh, that's fun. Down there on 22nd Street?
Yeah, I can't wait. Well, they moved it now. Now it's on 23rd Street.
Oh, my...
Yeah,
Weird.
it's on 23rd between 7th and 8th.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, and we'll see you all next time. All conversations and information exchanged during participation of the Dr. Drew After Dark podcast or interaction on the drdrew.com website is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Do not confuse this with treatment or physician medical advice or direction per se. You must always follow your medical professional's advice and direction. Nothing on these podcasts or posted on this site supplements or supersedes the relationship and direction of your medical caretakers. Please understand, I am not playing the role of physician in this environment per se. I'm educating. I am a licensed physician with specialty boards in American Board of Internal Medicine and American Board of Addiction Medicine.